for one marginalized person to know that they are likely to harm another marginalized person, there should be some responsibility that we hold for that for each other. It's only fair. Now, here's the other more complicated part of the conversation. John Davidson could be a racist. He may very well be a racist. And so if you hear Black people saying that he is, it is not your place to correct them. Because unless you know John Davidson and are able to be inside of his head when he thinks about Black people, you have no idea what he thinks. The evidence of our ears has demonstrated one of the things that occurs to him when he sees us. It is possible for him to suffer from Tourette's. It is possible for him to have an incredibly challenging life. It is possible for him to be mortified by the fact that he said that word out loud, and it is possible for him to be a racist. All of those things are possible. As far as I'm concerned, he's no more or less racist than your average white Scottish person who's in their 50s. And I think all white people are inherently racist. Because these are the systems. These are the systems. We live in racial caste systems, imported from, in part, the UK. Agatha Christie, her novel, maybe you've heard of it, And Then There Were None. Original title, 10 Little N-Words. The N-word is not foreign to them. It is something that, it is a word that they use with shocking regularity. I have no reason to assume that John Davidson is not an overt racist. I have no reason for that assumption, and you have no reason to assume it either. That's just what you want to believe. You've got to be able to hold, asking you to do like a bunch of things all at once. But if you can't believe that, if you're still struggling with that, like, you can't hold in your mind the idea that somebody could have a disability and have had a tough life and also be a racist, don't talk to us about it if we're saying that he's a racist. That is not your place. Because you don't know enough about racism, you don't know enough about Black people, and you don't know enough about racists and how they work. This requires a lot of nuance. It requires a lot of empathy, primarily for your fellow Americans. Not for the Scottish dude you've never met. Because they were treated abominably. This should never have happened. They should never have been in the position where this could happen. Because he knew that he did this. He could have left. He could have turned up late. It was the first award. He could have turned up a little bit late while they were on stage. There's so many things that could have been done. And perhaps it's worth considering whether or not it was appropriate for him to be there at all. And these are all conversations that Black people are having amongst themselves because we are struggling with it. It would have been one thing, I think, if John had apologized. Like an apology. Not for having Tourette's, but for humiliating, however unintentionally, his colleagues on international TV. The BBC could have apologized. Someone could have walked out on that stage, an executive producer could have come out on the stage and apologized from the podium directly to Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo. But for some reason, people get tripped up whenever it's time to apologize to Black people for racism. For some reason, whenever it is time to apologize to Black people for racism, we have lots and lots of ideas of what could have happened and what the person might have been thinking and what they really meant if you're white. I personally am a fan of Occam's razor. All things being equal, the simplest explanation is most likely the true one. Calling other people racial slurs, not even in the realm of my thoughts. It's not something I have to worry about saying accidentally because it just simply does not come up into my mind. I don't look at someone and hope that I'm not gonna call them that. Like, even, and this is the thing that I feel like people are failing to notice. If this is what he's worried about, do we really know for sure that it's not what he thinks? Stop defending him to us. We're compassionate people. We're empathetic people. And the truth is if he'd apologized, we would not be feeling the way we feel today. If the BBC had done a decent apology, we would not be feeling the way we feel today. If we'd heard, at the very least, that someone had come up to Ryan Coogler and Delroy Lindo and Michael B. Jordan and the cast and crew of Sinners and checked in to see if people were okay, because after all, they were guests in their country. I doubt the temperature would be so hot. When we get hot is when there's no justice. And in this situation, there was none. None. John Davidson's half-assed excuse, shows no empathy. And this is a thing that we have to think about. This is what we're talking about, intersectionality. He exists on the margins as a marginalized person because of his disability. Michael B. Jordan, Delroy Lindo exist at the margins as marginalized people because of the color of their skin. Now, for one marginalized person to know that they are likely to harm another marginalized person, there should be some responsibility that we hold for that for each other. It's only fair. Because you know what it's like to live your life on the margins, and for people to think that it's okay to say wild things to you, and for people to think all kinds of horrible things about you that aren't true. So that should engage, at the very least, your sense of empathy, that like how that must have felt for them. It is possible to apologize for causing harm while not being able to keep yourself from having caused the harm.